come join me to learn how to make three-dimensional shapes using form and shadows and learning about light and how light hits an object and makes it three-dimensional. Our next class is all about shading and creating three-dimensional shapes and how to make shadows on almost anything. We already know how to do squares and circles and things like that. So now we're going to make cubes and balls and all kinds of shapes. I have provided a practice sheet because remember, anytime that you work on a project, it's really good to practice first. So then when you start on the project, you don't have to, if you mess up, then you don't have to do it over and over and over and over. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice first. I use a sketchbook to practice. We're going to be practicing how to use a pencil and how to get black, and then how to get all the other shades in between black and white. We're also going to create three-dimensional shapes, cubes and balls and things like that. I even have a ribbon. You get this sheet of paper, and this sheet of paper is going to talk about the different types of lines. You're going to learn how to do hash marks. You're going to learn how to do hash marks and different hash marks and cross hatching. This is all how you learn to shade with a pen or a pencil. Now, the other thing that we're going to learn to do is shade with the side of our pencil. And then we're going to go on and learn how to do, it's called stippling, where you do a bunch of dots to create your shadow. So there's stippling, there's cross hatching, there's hatching, and we're going to also, do a little bit of sketching, just free form sketching to do shadows within an image. This is just, we just came back from the desert. I thought it'd be really fun to have a desert scene. So I created this desert scene. The sun comes down on the object, so then the shadows are on the other side. After we learn how to do all the really simple things, we are going to continue to practice. We're going to draw an apple, and we're going to learn how the light hits from one section. You have a highlight, you have a bounce light, and you have shadow. We're going to draw this apple, and we're going to shade with pencil. I also have another example of doing it with pen instead of pencil. After we finish our practice sheets, we are going to go into our sketchbook and we're going to create a 3-layered, 3-dimensional cake. I actually thought it'd be fun to put donuts on top, and I put donuts on top. The next step, we're going to take that, we're going to transfer it over onto another sheet of paper, and then we're going to do it in color pencils. So here's the color pencil example. And then if you want to do watercolor, we're going to transfer this drawing that we've already spent all this time doing, and we're going to transfer it over to another sheet of paper, which is watercolor paper. And then we're going to learn how to paint it in watercolor. So that's, so those are the projects. Supplies that you're going to need. You're going to need pencils. Now, you can go and get some pencils that have a variety of soft and hard pencils. And I have a link for that in the description. We'll have a materials list that I provide. And you can do that if you want to. In the example, I think I'm just using a regular pencil, a number 2 pencil, to do all the practice, all of the stuff for practicing. Then when you do the ink, you're going to need an ink pen. You could use a Sharpie if you want, but I do believe that I have links to other types of markers if you have some other marker, because we aren't going to use watercolor with them, so you don't have to have a Sharpie. You can use other types of drawing pens. So when we talk about pens, you can get these micro pens. They have different tips on them. Some of them have like a brush tip. Some of them have this really tiny tip on them, and they're really great for shading and doing all the things that we're going to be doing, the stippling and the shading. This is how I created all these little bitty dots, was using a pen that has a little bitty tip on the end to create all the little stipples or the dots to create the shadow on this ball. Another thing you're going to need is color pencils. Now, you can use Crayola brand, but remember, I strongly recommend getting Prisma pencils if you really want to take it to the next level. The Prisma pencils are so much more soft and they just work better. But you can use Crayola brand if you want. And then, of course, you need watercolor paint, and you get to choose whether you want to do, if you want to use Prang watercolor paint or if you want to use something else. When I painted my cake, I did use a different brand. I used this, what is it, Koi? Koi watercolors. So that's what I used when I did mine. Prang works just as good. And then if you have Winsor Newton, that's even better. So come join me to learn how to make three-dimensional shapes using form and shadows and learning about light and how light hits an object and makes it three-dimensional. See you soon.